If I've got 50,000 followers, then my advice is good. No.
Absolutely not. The example I sometimes use is just because you're a really good rugby player doesn't mean you know anything about finances.
Yeah.
And that is very unfortunate, because I think that influencing happens on a level that's not always logical. I'm amazed that it does, and I'm certainly not going to sit here and insult the public, but I'm really amazed that it happens like this. But I think it's a highly, highly dangerous issue. And quite frankly, you need a license to give advice. And I don't think influencers should get into that space, except if they have a license to do so. It's that simple. You're not selling cars. You are playing with people's future, their retirement. And that brings us back to the issue of suitability. It's a wide concept, but the most important part of suitability is risk match. So the risk appetite of a specific person that's going to follow somebody, is that a match? Is the risk of that product a match? Now we all know crypto, forex, derivatives, those are all high risk areas. You don't want a retired guy sitting there feeding his retirement fund in there. And that all goes for a loop if you don't do that within the framework of the law.
Jimmy, do you want to weigh in on this? I know you've been giving me your eyebrows here. It feels like you've also got something to add here. I'm also going to throw, I think, affiliate marketing into that as well, because that's also one of those suitably grey areas as to where does that all fit into the regulatory framework.
No.
Okay, so this is probably the part where I say something controversial and someone gets upset, someone walks off, but it's a conversation that needs to be had, right? So what Gerard's mentioned around the regulation and that, this is a conversation he and I publicly had 2 weeks ago around copy trading and signal providing, because the question that came up was, but is it really advice because I'm not forcing someone else to take the trade? And if you take ChatGPT and AI, for example, and you type into ChatGPT, give me a trading strategy that has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parameters and this kind of profitability, the immediate response ChatGPT spits back to you is, I'm a bot, I cannot provide advisory services. So the fact that a bot understands what is construed as advisory services means that we should understand that as well. And I think that's where the gray area comes in. It's very convenient for people to say, oh, but I've given you the signal, whether you take the signal or not is up to you. But that is financial advice. And that has been clarified not by me, but by the regulator and by the Financial Markets Act. And where it relates to copy trading, this is where we take it a step further. Copy trading is not financial advice, it is discretionary management. Now, I speak on that because that's a whole different set of licensing that Gerard will get into, and we can get into that. That's Category 2 asset management licensing. It's a license that isn't just handed out, it's not given to anyone. It took Leboa Capital probably 6 to 12 months to get that licensing. That licensing says, I take on the discretionary risk on behalf of my client to act in the interest of my client. And that is what copy trading is. When someone links their account to your account and you are executing the trade, it doesn't matter how it's linked, it doesn't matter where the licensing sits, the person that's executing that copy trade needs to have a Cat 2 license. Not the broker, not the person that introduced you to the third party or whatever of the sort. The copy trade master account holder needs to be licensed. And that's what people are not understanding. People are sitting here saying, oh, but it's just a platform. If I do it and I go and I run it through JP Markets as an example, because I see Justin at the back, who's got his ODP license, then it's Justin's problem because he must manage that because he's got the licensing. No, Justin's put in place his strategies for risk mitigation as a business. You as a service provider are providing a discretionary service over and above what that brokerage is providing, and you then need to be regulated. And that's the conversation people don't want to be having.
Gerard, you're aware of this. I know your name has fallen, and I'm glad you raised the word AI, because this wouldn't have been a credible panel discussion if we hadn't used artificial intelligence at least once during this discussion. But Gerard, over to you.
Well, thank you very much. Yes, I completely agree with what Jimmy has said. And I may just add, if anybody thinks it's a grey area, you can go look at the Pioneer FX case that we did some months ago, it was last year, and we imposed a penalty of 2 million rand, and we debarred the owner of Pioneer FX for 10 years, and that was taken on reconsideration appeal, and it stood. So there's really no grey area about copy trading. It's as Jimmy has pointed out, discretionary asset management. That's on the one side of the scale, of course, of copy trading. On the other side of the scale of copy trading is where you just show your transactions. That's a recommendation, so that's advice. So every case on its own merit, needless to say, and that's how we do our investigations, but I don't see much room to look at it differently. And the same goes for signals. We tend to do something as humans. We give things new